Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, February the 26th, 2019. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week. Really quickly before we get going, because this is normally the spot. Sometimes I do it at the end of the show, but this is normally the spot where I would, if there was a passing of some sort, like a celebrity, a wrestler, a sports figure, some kind of tragedy in the world or the country. This is normally the spot where I'd acknowledge that. So that's why I feel like I should do this here. And I don't really get into personal stuff too much on here. I try not to. But every so often I do. And, whether it's something good or something bad, and I acknowledge it and I bring it up. And, a lot of times I bring it up well after something's happened. People ask me questions. They say, oh, you look like you're upset or something like that. And I feel like I have to acknowledge it. And over these last few weeks, or most over the last 2 weeks, I mentioned that there has been some personal stuff going on with my family. There's been some things going on. And it's been weighing on me a little bit. And and I acknowledged I didn't go into specifics. I said I wasn't going to go into specifics, but tonight I'm going to acknowledge something with a little specificity because, just because I feel like I should, and because and people ask me like, oh, how's everything going? And, and my family could use the thoughts and the prayers and that kind of thing. So that's why I feel like I should mention it. And I we've been doing this show long enough where, a lot of you out there, I've known even before I started doing the show on message boards, Golder, message boards, a bunch of places that I went online, and you followed me to the show. And so you've known me for a long, long time. So I feel like this is something I should do. So over these last few weeks, we had a man that I consider my uncle. Basically, he's a cousin, but I always consider my uncle. He's gone through a rough time. He's been in bad health for a while. He had one problem after the other. But over the last 2 weeks, he got, after this going into too many details, it got really bad. There was an infection, and it all culminated. Over the last week, it became apparent that it wasn't going to be good. It was just a matter of what was going to, how long, and decisions needed to be made. And so today, that all culminated with him passing away. At what I consider a young age. I think 67 is a young age, especially nowadays. People are living longer for the most part. But this is a man that was a father of two, a grandfather to, God, like 7. So I just wanted to acknowledge off the top. To him, I'm not going to mention his name because privacy and all that kind of stuff. But may he rest in peace. And again, any thoughts, prayers, and condolences you want to express towards me and my family, you can feel free to do so. I just want to acknowledge that because people are going to ask. I get mail all the time. When Mike was off the air for the longest time, people ask me, what's going on with him, and ask what was going on with him. Last fall, he had some stuff going on with his mom, and you all express your thoughts and prayers and that. So, we could always use more. So that's why I acknowledge that. So people, if they ask questions, will understand and know what's going on. So I just wanted to acknowledge that off the top of the show. So again, any thoughts, prayers, and condolences are appreciated. And to all those that have been giving me well wishes across the way here, thank you so much. It's appreciated. And again, may he rest in peace. It's a sad thing, and it's been hard today. And I even thought about maybe not doing this tonight, but at the same time, I know, that sometimes this could be an escape, and this could be something to do, to help, and it makes you feel like you're doing something. So, so that's why I decided to go ahead and do it tonight. So, again, thank you for all your well wishes across the way, and again, all thoughts, prayers, and condolences are appreciated. And I just want to acknowledge that off the top here tonight. So with that being said, again, as I always say when I acknowledge these things that happen, um, everything obviously everything going forward here is going to be far less important than what I just mentioned. But we move on. We do a show, and so with that being said, as always, if you'd like to be involved with the show, interact with us during the show, have your voice heard, you can email us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight401. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight401 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And as always, you can find us on Facebook. Just search In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you're on it or once you find it, so you can interact with us and all that fun stuff. All right, so here's what's on the agenda tonight. We have two shows coming at you tonight, and basically going to be very much like last week. Thursday show will be probably a little shorter than the Tuesday show. But so we got a mixed bag tonight. We got our college basketball bubble watch segment, the Bracket Bugle. We're going to do some Lakers stuff because the Lakers are a big source of discussion in the NBA right now. We're talking about Bryce Harper because all the focus is on him right now, which is a shame because the baseball spring training is underway. We should be focusing on the teams on the field, but we're still trying to sign guys out of free agency. So we'll update you on the Bryce Harper situation, how it's unfolding. And then we'll go do a little wrestling. We got Raw and Smackdown, which were very, very, very eventful this week. And then we'll do a little bit of we're going to do a full discussion on Thursday, but since Mike's on the show tonight and he won't be here on Thursday, I thought I'd throw the Oscars in here and let him give his thoughts and maybe give a brief overview, and then we'll do a little bit more of it on Thursday, mostly because we need content for Thursday. So we'll do a little bit with the Oscars tonight, and then we'll do a little bit more on Thursday. So you get a little bit of that tonight, and that'll be the only entertainment stuff, and everything else we'll do on Thursday. Thursday again, box office beat, more stuff about the Oscars, and then we might even throw a little sports and wrestling in there. Anything else that we can't cover tonight, we'll cover on Thursday, next week. So on Thursday of this week, I should say. So I can't say next week because that's way too long to wait. So, but yeah, so that's what's coming up this week. On Thursday, also, I'll get into some of the things we'll be doing on the show, going forward. What's the schedule is going to be like, and all that kind of stuff. You'll notice things, maybe even tonight, a few things that might feel different. Because we're trying not to be too aggressive with doing this, because I felt like this all along, that you don't want to be too jarring to the audience. But so notice a few things tonight, and then again on Thursday I'll get into more detail about what's going on, what's coming up, and all that stuff. So that'll be on Thursday as well. All right, so that's what's kind of coming up this week, and then of course next week, as I said, once we get into March, it's going to be one show a week for the most part for the last 3 weeks of the month, as is always the case in March. So that's what you got to come up. So that's what's coming up over the course of next couple weeks, and again, and through March, again with the preemptions, one show a week. Again from the second week of March right through the rest of the month. That's how it always works, and so that's nothing new. So yeah, so that's what's coming up, and that's what's going down in the weeks to come. And then again, I'll get into more detail on Thursday about what's coming up and all that stuff. I know I'm rambling on, but I was trying to see if Mike was on yet, and he wasn't. My board, it wasn't really working for a second there, so that's why I was distracted. So my apologies for that. So, but yeah, so hang on one second, folks. Just give me 1 minute, okay? Okay, sorry about that, folks. We had a dog issue, and I'm still having an issue with my board here. Um, so I have double issues there. So thank you for thank you for your patience with that. Um, hey, live podcasting stuff happens. All right, this is what happens when you'll have commercial breaks. You know, when you have commercial breaks, you can kind of mess around with things. But anyway, with that being said, we got a lot of stuff to do, so let's get down to it. Let's get the ball rolling here, and we will start. Let's see here. We will start. Um, we'll do well since I don't need this from Mike. We'll start with a few topics that I don't necessarily need Mike to talk about. I always like to have topics focused on the show, especially when we have him on Tuesdays, that he can engage with. So we'll start with some of the other topics, and then we'll get into the bigger topics as we go along. Because obviously the bracket. Bugle will be a big topic. Wrestling stuff will be a big topic. There's a lot to mind there. So and the Oscars, I want to throw to him on and get his thoughts on. So let's start off. We'll start in sports, and we'll start off. We'll do the Bryce Harper stuff first. So for those that do not know, it's been pretty much even before Manny Machado signed last week. It had been pretty much almost a foregone conclusion. Everybody thought Bryce Harper would sign with the Phillies. They've been in on it, and obviously without Machado, they think, Machado off the market. Oh, you can throw all your money at one guy now. And it looked like the Padres weren't going to go after both, Harper and Machado. The Giants were in on Harper, but it looked like they were pulling away. So it looked like all hands were on deck to get Bryce Harper with Philly. But then yesterday, in a stunning turn of events, it was being reported that the Dodgers were back in on Harper, and it would be on a shorter deal than the deal with the Phillies, which is probably like a 10-year deal, like Machado got. But it'd still be a deal with the Dodgers nonetheless, and the money would probably be pretty decent, and it'd allow him to go back out as a free agent at the age of 30, 31. Probably right around there, because you figure it'd be a 4 or 5 year deal. Now, one might say, if that's the case, one might say, well, why would you want to do that given the way that things are going in baseball now, where guys over 30 are just not being signed? And, right now, I mean, he's a 26-year-old superstar, and he's not being signed. Why would you want to go back out at 31 when it seems like guys more and more? Look what the Yankees are doing with Hicks and Severino, and look what the Rockies did with Nolan Arenado, which I'll get to in a moment. All these guys are re-signing with their teams because they're afraid to become a free agent right now because of the circumstances. Whether you're young or old, but especially if you're older, over the age of 30, it's almost like, hey, you don't want to be a free agent. So, if you're somebody that's looking at this, like, well, why would you want to be a free agent at 30, 31 when you're already having trouble at age 26? It's a good question. It's something that you might look at this and go, wow, why would you want to do this? Well, here's the thing. It's apparent that Bryce Harper does not want to play for Philly. Unlike Manny. Maybe Manny did want to go play maybe he likes San Diego. I don't know. I highly doubt it, though. Because it seemed like Manny wanted to go to the Yankees. It seemed like, that was where he wanted to go. And if not there, maybe, some other big team like the Cubs or something jumped in, he would have went there. Maybe the Phillies, but it didn't seem like you want to go to Philly either. Look, Philly's a tough town. I mean, New York and Boston are tough as well. But Philly is a special kind of tough, particularly with the fans. So, maybe that was part of it with Manny. Maybe that's part of it with Bryce. I don't know. But either way, it seems like Bryce Harper is doing everything in his power to not go to Philly. And Manny kind of did that too, but maybe not as overtly. And so now you got this situation where Philly's the best deal on the table, but Bryce clearly doesn't want to, because if Bryce wanted to go there, he would have accepted already. It's been days now. And there was even talk that Philly even gave him an ultimatum and said, hey, look, you got 24 hours, but I mean, it's February 26th. We know Scott Boras your agent, but Scott Boras, even in his heyday, never free agents last this long. Again, no free agents ever last this long back in the day. So, Bryce is in a pickle here. He really is. Because he sees the writing on the wall. And last year all these free agents signed late had bad seasons other than JD Martinez. I think JD Martinez signed it a year ago today with Boston. He ended up being like the lone exception. But you're up against it now. You have to make a deal here. So, for Bryce, if he can't have the Yankees, which I think is what he wants, he'll probably go to the Dodgers because it falls into the same kind of thing for him. It's a winning team, and it's probably a city that he likes. So it seems like he'd go to the Yankees or he'd go to the Dodgers. If you can't have the Yankees, go to the Dodgers. And that's why I think this is why I think he would do this. He'll take the risk and be a free agent at 31. Hey, figure, hey, maybe if I do a good enough job, I can resign with the Dodgers, and I still get my money either way, and get to be a good team. In his eyes, it might be better than going to Philly, which is going to be a good competitive team, but maybe he doesn't want to play there for whatever reason. So, for anybody that's like, well, wait, why would you want to go to the Dodgers, sign that deal, and be a free agent again at 31? He's not worried about 31 right now. What he's worried about is being on a winning team and being on a team that he wants to play for. And if you figure if you do a good enough job, then maybe you can resign with that team, or you don't even have to worry about it. Maybe you can break the mold by now. Maybe things are different with the CBA at that point, or whatever. It could be a different circumstance when you're 31. So this is one of those things where you're just looking for what is the best situation for you. And again, I don't know whether Manny wanted to play for San Diego for real or not. Okay, he said all the right things. Again, I said it would be a nauseating press conference because you knew it would be full of crap, and it was. Okay, but everybody's different. And in my mind, I think Bryce wants to play where he wants to play, and he's going to try. He's going to say, you know what? Let's go shorter on the deal. We can still get the money, and at the same time, I can play for a team I want to play for. And if it's not going to be the Yankees, fine. Let's go to LA. Let's get LA in on this. Let's do that. And now there's even rumors that the Yankees, that Hal Steinbrenner reached out to Bryce Harper's to Scott Boras. So it's like, hey, wait a minute. We heard the Dodgers you might go with the Dodgers on a short term. Maybe we can do that too. Now, I said a couple minutes ago, I mentioned Nolan Arenado and the deal he signed today, the 8-year big money, I think it was a $255, $260 deal that he signed today, which everybody knew he was going to get an extension. I didn't think he'd get that kind of contract. But again, another example of a player looking at the free agent situation, whether you can't rely on the CBA being better in a few years if they go on strike, whatever. You got to do what's best for you now. That's why a lot of these players are accepting extensions with their clubs. He got a great deal, and he likes playing there. You stay there. It's not worth the risk. Let's think about this. If Bryce Harper had a 10-year, $300 million deal on the table with the Nationals back in September, he would have gotten exactly what Manny Machado got from a team that he liked playing for and that he was used to playing for. Now he might end up getting. Now he might end up taking a short-term deal and not getting that money, or he goes to the Phillies and takes that deal, but he plays for somebody he doesn't want to play for. So, again, I think there's a different. Some people will go straight up for the money, and some people don't want to do that because here's their thinking: I'm going to go for the money, then in 3-4 years I'm going to be miserable, and I'm going to be traded, and it's going to be a big mess. They're trying to take that away. Bryce is clearly looking for the team at the teams that he wants to play with. Because again, if he really wanted the Phillies, he'd be a Philly. It's there. It's more money than Manny's getting. I think it's like $325, $330, $325, something like that. It's more money. It's the biggest contract. If he wanted to be there, he'd be there. It's clear he doesn't want to go there. He's engaged with the Dodgers, and if the Yankees jump in, then he's got the best of both worlds. Then he can go. Okay, how far can I go on these 4 or 5 year deals? How much money can I get in these 4 or 5 year deals?
Probably not $325 million, but
no.
There we are.
No, and there's Mike. I was gonna shoot you over. Once I got my thoughts, and I didn't want to go, but Mike's in the spotlight. So yeah, Mike, he will not get $325 million for a 4 or 5 year deal, but he'll get the equivalent of that average annual value in the years. And like I said earlier,
Maybe.
he will. He
Maybe.
will. He'll get if it's 5 years, he'll get 150 or something like that.
Maybe.
But here's the thing: if he does a good enough job, or he plays up to his capability, and they win, that's why I said you don't worry about 30-31 because if you do a good enough job, they'll resign you. And you take the extension instead of taking a chance. Because I think that's what's going to end up happening. This is not the NBA anymore. Like baseball used to be the leader in free agents. I think NBA is now.
No, it's
Yeah,
still the NFL.
yeah, but there's a salary cap. You don't see guys like going crazy in free agency. Like remember in baseball, it used to be like Christmas shopping. It used to be crazy. Now it's like everybody's signing with their team because they're afraid to go out there now because of what they've seen. But in the
but
end,
even in the NBA, that you don't see contracts go up to that much. There's still like a cap in the NBA.
You usually got the max deal and that's it. And most teams are only most teams can only do like one max deal unless you clear so much cap like the Knicks do. The Knicks got room for two. I think the Lakers, I think the Lakers would have room for two as well.
LeBron didn't take an awful lot of the money. So
which is the one thing that LeBron has done is that when he wants to assemble a team, he makes sure that he leaves you enough room for that.
Heat, Miami,
Cleveland too.
Oh yeah, definitely Cleveland.
He did it in Cleveland. But yeah, I mean that's that. But you have to find ways around it. And realistically speaking, I think baseball is gonna. They don't have a cap, but the threshold has got everybody like, okay, I don't want to cross that. Or if I cross, I don't want to cross it by like the Red Sox are gonna do, and they're trying to kind of change that. But here's the other thing. The thing about baseball that's different is here's the thing. You have the threshold, right? Okay, you don't want to go above that, but there's no floor. So there's nothing telling these teams that they have to spend a certain amount to make their team better. Like in all the other sports, there's a floor. You can't go below that floor. So it forces you to be able to do things. So then you have more teams involved and trying to sign players and, you know what I mean, trying to win. Now it's just like some teams like, all right, well, there's nobody saying I have to spend that money. So why should I spend that money? I'll just keep hoarding luxury tax money from the big market teams. And we used to call this, Mike remembers this, but they didn't have the threshold back then, but same kind of deal. We used to call this the Pittsburgh Pirate Rule.
Yeah.
Until the Pirates got good and they started to care.
Yeah, and what happened once they started getting good and started to care? They started spending some money.
Yeah, and they're relevant. I mean, they're usually in the playoff push at least until August now. They're around.
And if they spent a little bit more money, maybe they would be a little bit more relevant even still. But there are teams out there.
Like if they re-signed Garrett Cole, they could have been a playoff team.
But there are still some teams out there who still refuse to spend money and still have mediocre teams year after year.
Yeah. Right. And no, absolutely. And that's again though, that's the difference. People wonder why baseball is so different. That's the difference. You're not making these teams, you're not putting parameters in place to make sure that they try to at least be competitive. And that's the issue, but that's a whole other story. But in terms of Bryce, now look, he's gonna be signed by the end of the week. He has to be. And he has to be. The writing's on the wall. Now, here's the thing. Kimbrough. Now, will Craig Kimbrell be signed by the end of the week? Probably not because he's being too stubborn about it. But Harper the deal is on the table with Philly. I don't know if that ultimatum meant they're going to take the deal off the table. Who knows? It may sound like, well, hey, 24 hours, we're gonna stop communication with you. It's gonna whatever. So that would make you think it's going to be over with, but who knows? I think if the Dodgers match the average annual value of the contract for what would be the 5 years. Okay. So if he gets about 150 for the 5 or 160 or whatever, he'll take it. He'll go to LA. That's what I think will happen. If he doesn't, and if the Yankees don't get too far involved, which is interesting, the Yankees are involved because I thought they had enough outfielders, but funny how that works. Yeah, they'll make room.
They'll make room, and besides, their biggest player over the last few years, Aaron Judge, has had some occasional injuries. So they might want to think of Bryce Harper as a very expensive backup.
Somebody just sent me an email, and it was funny. They said, now playing first base for the New York Yankees, Bryce Harper.
Hey,
I
if
I don't.
if you can't play, you play first base.
Hey, I mean, they have two guys there that are competing, but if it's Bryce Harper,
Then you put Bryce Harper there.
yeah, actually, well, I could say, I think there was a lot of talk about that last year about him potentially playing first base. So um,
Of
maybe.
all of the positions on the field, it's the one you put all your power hitters at because they suck everywhere else.
I mean, realistically speaking, I mean, you don't. I mean, you like your first baseman to have some range, but and usually first basemen are lefty batters, which he is. Um, you know, but you can get away with it. As long as he has good footwork and can, kind of stretch or whatever, and has a good glove, you can get away with it. Um,
It's not, again, of all of the positions on the field, it's only behind outfield for this is where we're going to store our bid back and hope they
Yeah.
don't get hurt.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because you see that, and that's usually like you see any good hitting catcher usually ends up at first base eventually.
Yep.
Um,
Wonder
so
why that is.
yeah, it protects them. Um, it's not. I mean, you can't put them at third base because that's a more demanding position as far as what you got to do athletically. But yeah, that's we'll
No,
see.
only athletic freaks like Alex Rodriguez go to fucking third base.
Ripken did it.
Well, Ripken did it too, but Alex Rodriguez was just naturally gifted athletically. And
yeah, he didn't even have a transition. It was just
no.
Yeah.
And he was one of the better third basemen in the league. I'm not going to say he was the best because I'd be talking out of my ass.
No, he was Gold Glove caliber. I mean, he wasn't the best, but he did enough. I mean,
he was serviceable. He was
yeah.
he was a better shortstop, but hey, when you go to the Yankees around that time, you already had a shortstop,
Right?
And that position was kind of filled.
And I would say this too, because obviously people are like, wait a minute, they just re-signed Aaron Hicks. They re-signed Aaron Hicks to a deal that's essentially $10 million a year. Okay, that's a very team-friendly deal. That's tradable. That's a tradable deal. A lot of teams would love to inherit that deal because you're not going to have to pay a player an absurd amount of money per year. I mean, for a guy that's only 29 years old. So there's a team out there that would take Aaron Hicks's deal if you had to trade somebody, if you wanted to put Bryce Harper in the outfield. Because you can't. I mean, you're not going to trade Brett Gardner at the end of his career, and obviously Judge and Stanton aren't going anywhere. So you're looking. It would be Aaron Hicks. That would probably have to be moved if you're going to move somebody. So that's a very tradable deal. Very tradable deal. So this is not Jacoby Ellsbury's deal. Okay, it's Aaron Hicks's deal is very team friendly. It would be no issue. I think that's why they signed him to it. They're like, hey, if we sign him to this, we get a solid player for 7 years at a good rate. If we get somebody else, if there's somebody else out there we want, then we can trade this deal and it's going to be accepted without any issue. Because any team can inherit that deal. It's a very fair, good rate. Now, like I said, a lot of this is tied into Nolan Arenado because everybody's, again, whether you believe it or not, people are saying, hey, the Yankees aren't going after Machado because they want to go get Nolan Arenado next year. Or the Dodgers want to go get Nolan Arenado. Now, all of a sudden, Nolan Arenado gets this extension, and all of a sudden, the Dodgers are back in on Bryce Harper. Maybe the Yankees are back in on Bryce Harper. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's it. Maybe they figure, hey, there's going to be nobody else in next year's free agent class that we want. Maybe we go after Bryce Harper now. Maybe that could be it.
And maybe the rest of us would be like, who the hell is Nolan Arenado?
Well, he's the third baseman of the Colorado Rockies. That is usually a 40-100 guy.
Well, that's very nice, but again, that does not answer the question.
Well, like I said, this is what happens when you have stars out on the West Coast.
Are they really stars then?
I think he is. I think he's one of those guys that even outside of Coors Field can hit. But again, Colorado, West Coast, I mean, and I'm not even saying this to be coy. I there's a lot of baseball fans out there that are like really, stringent baseball fans, watch the MLB Network and everything, that still don't know who Nolan Arenado is. That's again, you're kind of an obscure. I mean, the only reason why I think people knew Troy Tulowitzki in his prime of Colorado is because he made sure you knew who he was. He was very vocal, and he made some big plays in All-Star games. Like in Colorado, I think made the push to the World Series back then, so that kind of helped. There was a reason why people knew of him. Again, Colorado had a nice push last year, but outside of that, they haven't really done anything with no one there. So you're not going to really know, who he is, or Charlie Blackmon, or I could go on and on. I know who they are because I watch enough baseball, but yeah, all these teams are supposedly going to go after Nolan Arenado, and now he's off the market. So with him off the market, maybe some of these teams that were interested are going to go, hey, there's not going to be any big free agents now until Mike Trout in 2020.
Oh, Mike Trout. He's got all of the talent and none of the personality, from what I understand.
Well, he would be the guy. Again, I said this last week that I would break the bank for, but I do not think he's going to reach free agency. I don't.
Probably not.
The Angels have lost enough as it is. He's their cornerstone. He's been there since the beginning. Since he, again, 18 years old. They can't afford to lose him. Otherwise they would be completely irrelevant. And seeing,
so they might in that case wish to go Yankees money to get there.
Yeah, I think they. Well, and I also think too that you might also be able to get him for maybe even less than you probably would expect, because again, a lot of guys are getting scared off by the market. I'm not saying you're going to get a Aaron Hicks deal for Mike Trout, but I think that you could go in there and do what Colorado just did with Nolan. He got $260 for 8 years. You might be able to do that with Mike Trout, something similar, and not avoid $300 million. Just because, if you're going to want to take that chance in 2 years, that's because the CBA the potential strike in a new CBA doesn't come into effect until 2021. So there's going to be no changes when Mike Trout hits the free agent market in 2020. So you're going to, again, maybe want to protect yourself here, figuring I want the security. I'd rather just go and I really like it out here in LA. Unless he doesn't like it in LA, then maybe he forces himself out of there. I don't know. He doesn't seem like the type to do that, but who knows? But yeah, I mean, I could see that happening, but I don't think he's going to reach free agency. So I think that's a pipe dream. If he does, it'd be absurd what the kind of money he'd be offered. But because I do think he would be that. I do think he wouldn't. This wouldn't be a Harper Machado thing. I do think he would get offers, because of who he is and what he's done and the way he carries himself and how good he is with the game and everything. But again, Nolan was the guy next year, and with him now off the market, there's not a whole lot next year. There's pitchers, but there's not a lot of position players. So again, maybe that's why you see the Dodgers acting the way they are, and maybe the Yankees. Maybe they figure, hey, this is our chance to go get a big impact bat. Let's go do it. So we'll see how this all pans out. I do think he'll be signed by the end of the week. I do believe that. For his sake, I hope so. For these teams' sake, because these teams are trying to, and that's another thing. These teams they've been in camp for over a week now, some 2 weeks. They're forming chemistry. They're coming together. You're missing out on all that. And the later you wait, it's just not good. So, I expect them again. Again, I think you remember me saying back in November, I thought Manny Machado would be signed by New Year's. So don't feel free not to listen to me. I do think he will be, though. I don't know if Kimbrel will be, but I think he will be. I don't even ask for yeah.
Who is Kimbrel?
The closer for the Red Sox, former closer of the Braves, the guy that is basically a white knuckle save every time he goes out there, but thinks he's better than Mariano Rivera.
No idea. Who is this guy again?
Never mind, Mike. It's okay. But yeah, he won't be signed by it. I don't even know where he'd go. He thinks the Red Sox are somehow come in. They're not, even though they need him. But So yeah, I mean, when push comes to shove, the Dodgers offer the money. I think he'll go there. I don't know if the Yankees are in or not. If the Yankees are in, they offer the money. He'll go. He'll definitely go there because that's where he wants to be. I really don't think he'll go to the Phillies unless that's all that's on the board. Which again, you know, it's been there since I think late last week. So I don't think that the Phillies, if he wanted to take the Phillies, he would have taken it already. So, you know, all right, let's move on. Enough of Bryce because it's all that talk, huh?
Enough with who?
Enough of Bryce Harper.
That guy. He was nice the one time I met him at Syracuse, so
that's good.
He was probably a dick to you, but he was nice to me, mostly because I'm a dick.
Yeah, well, you said it, not me. So again, we spent so much time on talking about somebody that basically there's been very little movement. It's just more just the same stuff, like, oh, he's in, this team's in, this team's in. But anyway, let's move on. We'll do a brief thing with the Lakers here, because obviously we went to we went into this NBA season. There was one of the big stories, like LeBron, the Lakers, and LeBron. Even with a young core, they should be able to at least get like top 5 seed. And before LeBron got injured on Christmas Day, they were in the top 5. I think they were 5th, and they're approaching the 4th seed. LeBron gets hurt, and they struggle. He comes back. They still struggle. Now I think they're 3 games back. They're tied for 10th in the West. I think there's about 22 games left on the schedule. Yeah, 22 games left on the schedule. It's not impossible. It's very probable. But it's going to be hard because you need teams to lose too, and you have to win enough to impact, right? So that's going to be the big thing. Now, LeBron's not playing like himself. He's clearly not all the way back. And there's been a lot of issues there. Now, look, Mike knows this. We've been watching LeBron enough times to know that his teams have gone through bad stretches. How many times did Cleveland do it? How many times did the Heat do it? They'll go through a period where it looks like the sky is falling. And you wonder what's going on. And, LeBron starts calling people out. And then there's a lot of infighting. And then somehow it all comes together and they make a run, right? Kind of the way it goes. Mm-hmm. Well, this is happening. We're having the, again, you're having the struggles, except the struggles have lasted far longer because of injuries. There's been a lot of injuries to the Lakers other than just LeBron. LeBron's not healthy, but, he's gotten to the point now where he's basically calling guys out. Not specifically, but in general. And they don't really know how to play uncomfortable, which is basically, because he always mentions I'm a better player when I play uncomfortable, which means when I have pressure, right? Pressure and, your back's against the wall. He doesn't think a lot of guys on that team, especially the young guys, can do that are capable of doing that. So he's trying to get a rise out. I know what he's trying to do. Here's the thing, though, and this is where I have an issue, and this is why I wanted to bring this up. Not every player reacts the same to that kind of method of motivation. If you recall, Miami, when he was there, was a lot of veterans. There was a few young players there, but it was mostly veterans that were hungry for a championship, that were playing for a league minimum, that were all there with the same idea in mind to win a championship. And look, they understood what it's like to play in the league, to play with pressure. They've been in the league before. Some of them have been in the playoffs, but they didn't have won that big game, that big series. Same thing with Cleveland. What did Cleveland do? The same thing, right? They had a couple young players. You had obviously Kyrie Irving. That was young at the time, and then you had a couple young other players like Tristan Thompson. But what do they have around as role players? A lot of veterans. Same situation. This Laker team has a couple veterans. You got Rajon Rondo, who obviously knows how to win. but sometimes he's not healthy. It's mostly just a young team. Now, could something like this could you motivate them? Could LeBron motivate them somehow by doing? Yeah, some young guys will take this and be like, "Oh yeah, he's calling us out. We need to come together." But not every young guy is going to be motivated by stuff like that. Some guys, it's going to demoralize them. Some guys, it's going to bug them. It's going to make them question. And if you've seen the body language of the Lakers, it's getting worse and worse the more LeBron does this. So I don't really think this is the right approach with this particular team. Now, some might say that means that they're soft. Maybe it does.
You know what, Brian? You know what? I was going to comment and say, hey, are you accusing these Lakers youngins of being soft? Of being mentally not as strong? And honestly, you can in fact make that point. If they're struggling, this is how they're going to react under pressure to LeBron James calling them out? If they're in a real tight playoff scenario and they're cracking now,
yeah,
what will that mean when they're really in it? What if they were in it? What if they're the 8th seed? What if they're 2-2 with, let's be honest, the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah.
In coming down to the last shot and you don't have LeBron, how are these kids going to react if they are going to be cracking under pressure when they're what? Let me take a look here. When they are 11th in the Western Conference, 11th.
Mm-hmm.
If they are cracking under pressure when they're 11th, if LeBron's like, look, I'd like to make a playoff push, and this is how we can improve, and we're not getting it done here. Obviously, I'm being a little bit more.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Obviously, I'm being a little bit more. He's calling them out, saying, hey, we need to be playing better here as a team. I can't be the guy just dropping 26 points a fucking game. I need a little help here. If they're cracking under pressure like this, then there is literally no hope. And the Lakers probably should have fought a little bit harder to trade most of these players for fucking Anthony Davis.
Well, do you remember, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago. Remember New Orleans turned down the Laker deal, and that the reason was said, well, these guys, you saw what these guys did last year without LeBron James, and it wasn't pretty.
Mm-mm.
So why would we take all these guys on, and that's what we're left with? That's our whole team. We'll be taking all these Laker guys, and that's essentially going to be the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yep.
Why would we want this when we already seen what they can do together?
And that's hilarious because the Pelicans are actually the 12th team in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because they're even worse.
See, this is what I'm saying though. Like if you drop back to that like, okay, they want clearly New Orleans is like, we want to wait because we want to get Boston on this because Boston's got the best talent available to make this deal for Anthony Davis, right? Whether they have Kyrie, I mean, the only difference is they can't do anything because of Kyrie Irving until after July 1st, and whether Kyrie Irving's there or not, you know, they'll probably consider making this deal because it's Anthony Davis. But you saw the players that Boston would offer to New Orleans. Some of those players, you saw them last year carried Boston almost to the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see from the Lakers last year? Nothing.
They got their asses handed to them.
So if you're New Orleans, wouldn't you want to try to engage Boston?
Well, of course you want to try to engage Boston.
So that's the reason. I mean, people wonder why, you know, they didn't take the Laker deal. That's why. Look at the Lakers now. And look, LeBron's clearly hurt. He is. He's doing the best. He's
LeBron
hurt.
Is not only is he hurt, he's the only guy over 20 points a game.
Right.
Like, you got to get, like, look, Kyle Kuzma is a guy that has a lot of talent, and Brandon Ingram is a guy who can be impressive. And Lonzo Ball, well, he's Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
But anyways, these guys have talent. It's just, and look, you were right. You were absolutely right when you kind of prefaced this by saying people don't react in certain ways. Some people react better to honey than they do to vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. mostly everybody responds better to the sweet stuff other than the hard shit. Of course they're going to respond better. And
Awesome way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People like it when it just kind of flows right out, like you're on the squatty potty. Nobody likes having constipated shits. Come on. But the problem is sometimes you ate all that fiber and it's not coming out straight.
Okay.
Sometimes, well, to be less vulgar, sometimes you're gonna be in a situation where there's no fucking honey available and it's all vinegar. How are you going to respond?
They haven't responded well.
They haven't responded well, and to be fair, playing under pressure and playing under severe pressure is one of those aspects of being an athlete, a professional athlete, that either you have it or you don't. The ones that aren't able to play under pressure, and that would include having a teammate call you out because you're shit in the bed. Like, all right, I mean, that's just one bit of pressure. I mean, I'm gonna just wrap up my sentiment on this. How many times, Brian, do you remember in your lifetime and in my lifetime, had Michael Jordan, when he wasn't satisfied with how the Bulls are playing, how he would just subtly lay out a comment calling out teammates?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan did that to the Chicago Bulls, to other members of his team. How many times did he do that in the media? Sometimes it was not as subtle then.
Yeah.
Sometimes you rip teammates in the media because they weren't playing. What happened to those? What happened to the Bulls? Did they fucking crack under pressure? No, they had 6 of the greatest teams of all time and won 6 titles.
All the greats did that. They always would do that. They're the ones that try to get a rise out of their team when they felt like things were going in the wrong direction.
Hell, Pippen did it too.
Kobe did it, but Kobe was more open about it.
Kobe gave no shits. Kobe gave no shits.
No, he did not.
But that's the thing. A lot of the greatest players will call out teammates. Some of the greatest players were players and coaches. Hi, Bill Russell. How are you doing? When he literally called out teammates because they're asking him how to do it as a coach and a teammate.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Everybody does it, and pressure is pressure. Real game-winning, game-losing situations are just a part of being a professional athlete. How you respond to pressure is going to determine if you're going to be on the elite level or if you're going to shit the bed like a lot of these young Lakers have been.
Right.
So.
And by the way, Stephen A. Smith today said that he thinks Luke Walton's out of a job. So
probably.
I mean,
and it's too bad too because Luke Walton. Well, I mean, if you give Luke Walton a team ready made for a championship, yeah, Luke Walton can fucking coach it great.
See, I don't even think that. I think with a good young team, he would be fine. I think that the problem is that you have Brian. First of all, he's gonna be the scapegoat because this team was also, again, we talk about in December, it was on the precipice of being the 4th seed before LeBron got hurt. So, and then things just kind of came out of, again, you face adversity, and then all those guys all of a sudden had everything thrust upon them again, right? Because LeBron was gone. And then they struggle, and I think it got inside their heads. Luke Walton, but what really bothers me about this, let's say the Lakers make a miracle here, and they somehow take the 8th seed. Okay, now here's the problem with the 8th seed. The 8th seed, you're probably playing Golden State.
No. There's no probably about it. You're playing Golden State.
So you're not winning that series. You would almost need to look at this as, if we want to win a series, which I think is what the goal was this year, right? Then you need to at least get to that 7 and take your chances with, I think would it be Denver probably still now? Probably. I think it's still be Denver as of right now.
We can check that out.
I'm checking it right now. I think it would be Denver.
Let's see.
Last time I checked, it was Denver.
It is Denver.
Okay. So yeah, that's what I thought. Not by very much, but okay. So today it'd be Denver. Now could they beat Denver? Yeah, they could beat Denver.
Let's not go that far.
If they're on their game, they can beat Denver.
Let's not go that far either.
Yeah, I would go that far.
If you say so.
But here's the thing, okay? They're again, the chances of them getting there are very, very slim now. I know it's only again, you got what 22 games left, 22, 21 games left. You need teams to lose, and you need to win enough. And the problems that this team has cannot just be solved overnight. And that's an issue. And again, Luke Walton's going to be the scapegoat for this. Like, oh, it just kind of came apart and all that. And I don't even know where they go to it for a coach because it's hard to coach LeBron James teams.
Well, to be honest with you, that's the reason why that's a good argument why you maybe keep Luke Walton in. Because who the hell are you going to? You've got nobody else.
I think their thing is that, they feel like they have to show the fans something to kind of be like, okay, we're making a change here. So that would be it.
But the question is, though, who do you go to?
Yeah.
Do you go to Paul Silas or do you go to?
Well, Tyronn Lue's available.
Oh yeah, Tyronn Lue. Oh, that's right.
He seemed to work just fine with LeBron, so yeah, I mean, maybe he said he needed a break, but he'd have enough of a break by that point. Maybe.
Hey, maybe you go back to Stan Van.
Oh God, that would work out great.
Well, yeah, Stan Van's an actual coach.
Yeah, he is.
To be fair, I'm not saying that the other coaches are not. But Stan Van's a guy who's got a lot of experience too.
Well, I do think he'll be gone. He'll be the scapegoat. It's a shame, but that's what happens in the game. We all know that. We all understand that. So, but look, the Lakers are in trouble. It's what LeBron's doing is clearly not working, which is why I want to keep doing it. And look, the Lakers have a whole. Imagine this, because much like the Knicks, except the Lakers at least have some good young players and LeBron James. The Lakers are pinning all their hopes on free agency this year.
Yep.
If, like the Knicks, if they don't get at least one guy, now the Lakers only need to go get one guy to come play with LeBron, and then they can fill in the gaps. The Knicks need two. If the Lakers can't get one guy to come play with LeBron James, because they're not going to get, I don't care what they say, they're not going to get Anthony Davis.
Nope.
I don't think that it would have happened already if they were going to go. If they don't get one guy for LeBron James, then LeBron's going to waste the rest of his career not winning a championship. And then you wonder if they don't, will LeBron try to get out of this? Because again, we've never seen him in that position. He's always gone to free agency and then went away, right? Well, he can't do that this time. Now, I know he went to LA with the idea that this is, building towards the end of his career. He's not really, it's not so much a basketball thing as much as a personal thing and everything. But you really think that's how he wants to finish? That's the end of his legacy? That's what he wants to leave? Do you really think that's how he wants to end things? I don't think so. I wouldn't. So we'll see how this goes. This is going to be a very interesting situation because I think, if you look at LeBron James and you listen to his comments from December when everything was rolling for the Lakers, he seemed like content with his decision, looked excited about the future, and now he looks absolutely miserable. And it looks like somebody is starting to doubt what he's done, what his decision. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. So the Lakers are definitely on thin ice here. We'll obviously follow where this goes as we head down the stretch here in this NBA season. So we got to leave that for right now because we got other things to talk about.
Which is too bad because there were a couple of really cool things that happened in the NBA over the last week that are really worth noting.
Well, bring them up.
Bring them up? All right.
Go ahead.
Hey, did you know that DeMar DeRozan went back to San Antonio last week? Or went back to Toronto last week?
Yes, I did. Yep.
Did you see how classy the Toronto Raptors were? Super classy. Like every time DeMar touched the ball, standing ovation. They were cheering for the guy. And well, to be fair, Toronto beat San Antonio by 3. It was a very competitive game. It was very good.
Right.
But it was just very amazing how much Toronto really valued DeMar DeRozan. Unfortunately, it kind of shows how much they messed up in a way. So, I mean, it was a trade that worked out in the end for both teams because it looks like what's his face is very happy there in Toronto, of all places. It's like Paul George in Oklahoma City. What's his
Mm-hmm.
face? Kawhi.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Ironically, it's like George in Oklahoma City, but still, it's the respect they showed DeMar DeRozan was very, very classy. And speaking of the epitome of class, Dirk's last game in the against the Clippers at what, L.A.? His last game in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
You saw this last night, right? Did you see the story about this?
I didn't see the story, but I saw it.
You saw it?
Yeah.
Dirk, well, look, Dallas is not having a very good year. They're doing slightly better than the Lakers, but that's not saying much. But Dirk Nowitzki, they got 10 seconds left in the game. The Clippers are going to win it handily. Doc Rivers calls a timeout, gets on the house mic, and pretty much tells them they have a standing ovation. A standing ovation for Dirk Nowitzki, his last time on the floor, last time against the Clippers, last time in LA, playing basketball. So it was a beautiful moment. It was a big respectful moment. Look, it's very underrated what Dirk and Dwayne have been kind of doing this year. It's a farewell tour for two legends, two Hall of Famers. Obviously, Dirk's been getting slightly more attention. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm just not focusing on the Dwayne Wayne stuff, but still, it was. I don't know. It was a very classy moment by Doc. Very
Yeah.
classy moment by Doc.
Well, you know what's interesting? Even at the All-Star game, Dirk got more than Dwayne did, which I thought was played well in the game, and they made a point to have them both together. But it felt like Dirk was getting more, and I don't. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. That feels like the story of Dwayne's career. He's always kind of like that, the other guy.
Kind
You
of.
know, I mean, I get it. Dirk's the more imposing guy. You know, he's the guy that's like this otherworldly presence. I get that, but it's just funny. That's Dwayne. Like even I mean, his whole career, like in Miami, it was if it wasn't Shaq, it was LeBron and Bosh. You know, he always kind of got overshadowed, and it's a shame because the guy's ridiculously talented, and you know, you would love to have him on your team because I mean, he shortened his career. He giving up his body the amount of times he did. He shortened his career. But to move, and this is why everybody likes Doc Rivers.
He's extraordinary classy. But then again, if you think about it, Dwayne Wade, the one time they went head to head in the finals, who emerged as the champion?
Dirk.
Dirk. Maybe that's why. Probably not, but maybe that's one of the reasons why.
That's probably the reason why LeBron and Dirk don't really shake hands anymore.
Hey, LeBron might have his rings, but the one time Dirk got his ring, man.
Yeah. And look, Dallas is having a tough year this year, but I think they're going to have a very promising future. So.
Yeah, they got Porzingis. They got what's his face?
Luka, Doncic.
Luka.
Yep. They got a good future going on there.
They very much do. It's too bad Kristaps isn't healthy. But if he's healthy, how would the Knicks bomb?
Oh. Oh boy. That's going to be fun when to see that.
Well, to be fair to the Knicks, they're not even bombing correctly. They're
No, they're
not
not.
even the worst team in the league. Zion Williamson might end up as a Phoenix Sun.
Wouldn't the league love that? Wouldn't the league love that?
No, they
Wouldn't they
would
love
hate
that?
that. Oh, they would hate that.
Oh God, that would be a nightmare for them. You'd be seeing, you'd be seeing the Knicks go through hoops to try to. Here's the thing, okay? And I hate to go off on a tangent here, but here's the funny part. This is why I wouldn't have traded Porzingis when I did, because Porzingis was a very valuable trade chip. And if you get in a situation, let's say the Suns win the lottery and they're the number one pick, right? Let's just say that hypothetically, right? You could have traded Porzingis to the Suns to get that pick.
Yep.
You traded him to Dallas now. You got no assets at all to trade for a pick. You got nothing. Nada. You're screwed.
Yep.
So that's why that was so stupid. Oh. Anyway, let's go off that because we've talked about that before. Okay, so we done some NBA. We got to go college basketball to get to, and we're going to be quick with this because there's not much. There's not much we can update. It hasn't been the most. There's been a lot of good games this week. A lot of good games in college. From Syracuse, Duke, Carolina last week, which we talked about last week with the Zion Williamson stuff. So I'm not going to go into it again. And I think Zion will be back on Duke's game, the next game. He was not back tonight, and Duke lost to Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech, but they do every year. It's like a tradition. It is, folks. It's like a tradition. Syracuse just lost to North Carolina. They were up early, Syracuse, and then just kind of fell apart in the second half. North Carolina is the hottest team in the ACC right now. And I'm telling you, I said this to you, Mike, off the air on Saturday. I think North Carolina's winning the ACC. I really do. I think, they got experience. They got some good young guys. They the only problem with them is they don't play defense, but that's typical for Carolina. Nothing new. But boy, they can score. They got guys on the floor at positions that they're real undersized in the post, but they make it work because May can get to the basket and score. But I really like North Carolina right now. I really, really do. By the way, Syracuse got some help tonight. Ohio State beat number 22 Iowa, so that helps.
Hey, do you would have helped Syracuse more
Winning
if they didn't shit the bed again against?
Yeah.
See, here's the thing about Syracuse that I've noticed recently: they can go into halftime with a lead against a team they have no business beating. But when it comes down to it, when you don't score in the second half, you don't fucking win. Now, do you?
No.
And it's not like North Carolina plays defense.
No.
So that's the other thing. North Carolina can shoot the freaking lights out against anybody. And yes, they probably have one of the best offensive outputs in the country.
They do.
But they can't play defense.
Never could.
Still can't.
They're relying on outscoring. They scored 90 on Syracuse tonight.
90.
And that's a team that's probably one of the, if not the best defense in the ACC, one of the best.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Syracuse is a very good basketball team, but they are a very good basketball team who can't score worth a shit.
Somebody was asking me this off the air. One of our fans was asking me this today. So what's the difference between Duke and Carolina? Because they know, they say position wise they seem to match up. Except Zion obviously is a bigger guy when he's on the court, right? But but for what Duke's got in Zion, North Carolina makes up in other areas as far as height, so it kind of evens out. And I say, you know what the difference is? North Carolina can make outside shots
consistently.
Everyone for their top three guys, okay. The stretch four can't, but like whoever plays the 1, whoever plays the 2, whoever plays the 3, whether they're off the bench or a starter, they all can make an outside perimeter shot. They don't have like a sharpshooter, but they're all capable. So you have to guard that. You have to present. You have to compensate for that. Duke doesn't have that. They have guys that are capable, but they don't make them consistently enough. Like you saw even Syracuse do this last week. They kind of laid off the shooters because they're like, we're going to make you make them first because you're not reliable shooters. Duke is all about the paint.
Which is ironic for a Duke team, really.
Which is ironic for a Duke team. You're right. Which is why against Syracuse, a team that's a zone, if they don't make shots, they're going to lose because zones collapse on the paint. And against North Carolina, what does North Carolina do? They load the paint. Yep. They don't really play great defense, but they have enough guys there that just their presence can cause problems for Duke. And that's a big thing. So, if somebody asked me right now, we were talking a lot about, remember 1 seeds last week?
Mm-hmm.
I still think Duke's going to get one.
Probably.
But I don't think Virginia is going to get one. I don't think Virginia's going to. I think there's going to be 2 ACC teams that get ones. I think North Carolina's going to get one. I really do. I think North Carolina, and here's the other thing too. If for some reason Zion doesn't come back before the tournament, they're not going to make Duke a 1 seed. They're going to make them a 2. Because they're not a 1 seed without him.
No, they're definitely a 2 seed.
So that's a big thing. I expect him to be back in the next game, but if for some reason he doesn't come back until after the ACC tournament, they're not going to be a 1 seed. So, but I think North Carolina is going to be that other ACC team. And I also think Tennessee, their ship has sailed as far as a 1 seed goes, no matter what happens. Unless they run the table here right through the SEC tournament, I think Kentucky is going to get that 1 seed. Tennessee lost again to LSU, which LSU's in the tournament now, so let's not even talk about them anymore.
We don't have to, right?
We don't have to. LSU's in. We don't even have to worry about them anymore.
Yeah.
But Kentucky is the best team in the SEC. They deserve the 1. They're going to get the 1. I even think maybe at this point Kentucky and Tennessee could both potentially get 1s, because here's the thing. I think Tennessee is better than any of the other teams in the Big 10 or the Big 12. So I could see a situation where you get 2 ACC and 2 SEC for 1 seeds. I could see that. I could still see, I guess Villanova would have to run the table at this point, but I could see Marquette getting a 1.
They have to run the table too.
I'm just thinking that if they win the big games here and then they obviously run the table through. I obviously between Marquette and Villanova, if any of these 2 teams win the table, you can make a case for either one to be a 1 seed.
Yep.
Michigan State could be 1. That'd be the only team out of the Big 10, I think. Nobody out of the Pac-12 deserves 1. Not even close. No, I didn't buy into this when somebody said it. I forgot who the commentator was that said it yesterday, but you could see 3 ACC teams get a 1. You really could. It's just that there's so many good teams in the ACC, and then you got the SEC, but only 2 teams in the SEC are strong enough to be 1 seeds. So we'll have to see, but that's the whole 1 seed argument. As far as the bubble goes, we're going to be very quick with this week because I think
teams have played themselves out.
Right, teams played themselves securely. And here's the thing. I'm not going to talk about should-be-ins because at this point, I think there's not that many games left. And if you're in a should-be-in right now, most of the time you're going to make it unless you play yourself out of it. So when you look at the ACC, Virginia, Duke, Carolina, Louisville, Florida State, Virginia Tech are all in. Syracuse is more than likely in. Unless, here's the thing: if Syracuse goes and loses to Wake Forest on Saturday, okay, if they lose to Virginia, nobody's going to go out get upset. Although if they beat Virginia, it'd be beneficial. If they lose to Wake Forest and they lose to Clemson and they lose to Virginia, if they win another game in this regular season, they're in trouble. If they beat Wake Forest and they beat Clemson, then they don't have anything to worry about because I think they've done enough. If they lose one of those 2 games, I think they're still okay, but they're vulnerable. If they win the games they should win, they're fine. If they win the next 3 games, they're more than fine. So that's where they're at. Now, the other 2 teams, Clemson, I'm not even going to talk about because I don't even think they're even close to being in the play right now. They have let me know when they win 3 of their next 4. Then we can talk about Clemson. NC State, is the only team I think in the ACC is worth talking about. And here's the thing. If they don't beat Florida State this weekend, because they don't have any other quality games before the NCAA for the conference tournament. They got Boston College and Georgia Tech. They got to win both those games. Okay? Right now, they're in. They have to win both those games. They win both those games, I think they're probably going to sneak in. If they don't, if they lose any of those games, and they don't, and look, they lose to Florida State, I think they'll probably they'll be vulnerable, but I think they can still probably get in. But if they lose against Boston College, they lose against Georgia Tech, or they lose both, God forbid they lose both, they're out. They lose one of them, they're very, very, very much in trouble. That's why I see NC State. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
It's very simple, yeah.
Big 12 is sketchy because, okay, Kansas, Texas Tech, Iowa State, and Kansas State are all in. Kansas is interesting because I don't think Kansas will win the Big 12. They have a lot of ground to make up. I don't know if they have enough time to do it. I think Baylor is in. I do. I think Baylor is in. I think Texas and TCU are probably in right now. So I'm not going to talk about them. I think they're probably in right now. Oklahoma is out. They're going to be out. They're going to stay out until they, let's say, I like in Oklahoma, Mike will get this comparison to those that won't. I like in Oklahoma to what Georgia was for a number of years in the SEC. You know what I'm saying.
Everybody's quality win.
Well, that and they were chronically under 500 and what was a bad SEC at that point.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And
awful.
They would go into the SEC tournament every year and make a run and at least get to the semifinal of the SEC. And sometimes they would sneak in the tournament. Sometimes they'd even win the SEC tournament and get an automatic bid.
Mm-hmm.
They were frustrating because you're like, well, why can't they just do this during the regular season? Oklahoma reminds me a lot of those Georgia teams. They're better than they act like they are.
It's true.
They beat Wofford, and Wofford's a good team. Wofford's probably going to be against double turn. Wofford's a good team. Florida is an underachieving team. I think they're better than they've shown. And they beat those two teams. They're a good team. Oklahoma's don't let the record in conference fool you. They're a good team. They just haven't shown it. So they do have the capability to go into the Big 12 tournament and rattle off enough wins to even win the damn thing. And many prognosticators still have them in the field. I don't. I think they have to play their way in. But this is and Mike's there laughing at me for saying this because it's been this way for how many years now. It's a weak bubble.
It's always a weak bubble.
But they're taking, if you look at it, you're seeing so many under 500 teams, not even by like 1 or 2 games. Some teams that are 5 under, like Oklahoma, are being put in the field because of how bad it is this year. I'm sorry. Oklahoma's not in right now.
They should not be in.
Could they get in? Certainly. They're capable.
Yeah, because the SEC generally is a turd. But Kentucky's better than most, and Tennessee doesn't suck. So,
We're not talking about the SEC. We're talking about the Big 12.
Oh.
That's when Oklahoma go to the SEC.
Oh, I thought we were still talking about Georgia. Yeah.
Well, I was comparing Oklahoma to Georgia.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. So, yeah, let me rephrase that. Kansas is still a thing, and for some reason, Kansas State hasn't completely shut the bed. And I'm actually rather surprised about that, to be quite honest with you. Who else doesn't suck in the Big 12? That's about it.
Like I said, Oklahoma. We'll talk when you get to let's say the quarterfinal of the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, because that would mean you got over 500 in your freaking conference for once.
Let's move on to the Big East.
Oh, I forgot who out. Wait, what conference is Iowa in? Big 10. Never mind.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Big East. Marquette, Villanova, St. John's are all in. Seton Hall and Butler, I think I'm not going to talk about Seton Hall because I think they're in. We're going to look at Butler again because Butler's going to be that team that's going to come down to the wire, I think. Right now, Many people think they're first four out. They're 6-8 in the Big East. They got 2 games against Providence left, a game at Villanova and at home against Xavier. They got to win the game at home against Xavier because Xavier's not that good this year. I would say win that Xavier game. They win at Villanova, I think they'd be solidly in. I would think you'd always split with Providence because Providence can be tough at their place. I would think you'd have to at least split at Providence, win the game at Xavier, and that might be enough. But if you beat Villanova on the road, that should be plenty. I mean, if you finish 500 or better in the Big East, and get to around 18 wins, I think that probably this year that would probably be enough. But that's what they got. I think that's probably what they got to looking like they got to do, or make some noise in the Big East tournament. Mike,
Why do you have to interrupt me when I'm blowing my nose?
I'm sorry.
You should be. Gosh. Gross.
Yeah.
All that shifting weather. See, I don't like talking about teams that aren't 500 in their conference, even though, it might be the thing this year, because a lot of these other teams have literally shit the bed. That seems to be the phrase of the day here when talking about basketball. Shit the bed. Should be in Villanova.
Yeah.
Look, Seton Hall's probably in, even though they're 7-8. They should probably win against Georgetown, though. But Butler might get in. Where are they? 9-9.
They have to they're 6-8 right now.
No.
They can get to 9-9 though. They have potential to get to 9-9.
Well, once they get to 9-9, we could talk about them. Until then, fuck it. Hell, if they get to 7-8, if we get to 7-8 with Butler, sure.
Yeah.
Until then, well, I don't even know if the NIT would take them.
Big Ten.
No.
Michigan State, Michigan, Purdue, Wisconsin, Maryland, and Iowa are going to be all in. I'm going to be honest with you. I think after Ohio State's win tonight, I think they're in. Because they had such a good start to the season. Road wins at Creighton, Nebraska, Indiana, all quad 1 victories. They won tonight against Iowa. I think Ohio State's in right now. They could play their way up. I think they're in. The only team we're talking about here is Minnesota. 7-10 in the Big Ten, 17-11 overall. They got to win at Wisconsin. They got some road games left at Northwestern and Maryland, and a home game against Purdue. They got some games here. I would say they'd have to win the Northwestern game, and then if they can either pick off either Maryland or Purdue, that's probably going to be good enough. But we'll see. Mike, your favorite conference? Big Ten.
Please. If I want to watch Big Ten if I'm ready for a nap, I should say I'm watching Big Ten basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ohio State's probably in. They have and I don't understand this half the time, but they've got more quad 1 victories than a lot of the other bubble teams.
Yeah.
But Minnesota, I'm not talking about Minnesota again. I would prefer them to be 500 in their conference. They have a chance to get 500 in their conference, but they might want to think about beating Purdue, which is a team where we're very surprised that they're still pretty good still, but hey, whatever. Iowa's in, though. Iowa's in. Hey, guess what? We're talking about the Pac-12 yet next, aren't we?
Well, not really, because Washington's in. Arizona State's still the only team on the board that has potential to do anything. So again, I think as of today they would be in, but they're vulnerable in because I think a lot of teams could play them out. I would say the best thing for Arizona State is just to keep winning. I'm gonna make this simple: keep winning, have a great run in the Pac-12 tournament, maybe even win the damn thing, and then you should be in good shape.
Apparently, if they beat Oregon, that is technically a quad 1 victory.
Oh God. But well, listen, that's just the kind of year it is. But let me just say this: if they can avoid a bad loss, like, again, the whole conference is a bad group of bad losses, I guess. But this is why I said just keep winning games. If you keep winning games, then they'll probably get in. That's just the bottom line. That's as simple as I can be. That's because of how bad the conference. Let's just move on.
Please.
SEC, Tennessee, Kentucky, LSU are all in. I'm going to put Mississippi. I did this last week. Mississippi State, Auburn, Ole Miss are all in too.
Somebody's
What's
got
it?
to be in.
Yeah, because well, yeah, Florida and Alabama. Okay, I'm going to pick off Alabama right now.
Nope.
They're not in. They're not close to in right now. Let me know when they get to about the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament. I know they're listed as one of those like borderline teams in. They're not. Okay, let me know when they get to the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament. Then we'll talk about them. I think they have a lot of work to do. I think it would behoove them to win 3 of their next 4 just to stay in the conversation. Florida's that team I said that's underachieving. Okay, they had that overtime win at LSU, which is huge now. Most people have in the field barely. Road victories against Arkansas and Alabama, so at least they got something on edge on Alabama. Alabama has win over Kentucky too, but still. Here's what I think. Again, I think for Florida just has better wins. But here's the thing. I think, well, not that better wins. Alabama's got Kentucky, but LSU is Florida's. Here's what I think Florida has to do. Okay. Win. I would say the same thing as Alabama because I just think they're ahead of Alabama in line. Okay. So when you're ahead of Alabama in line, that means you're going to get in before Alabama. Win 3 out of 4. No, and then, I think if they win 3 out of 4, I think Florida will be in, unlike Alabama. But Alabama wins 3 out of 4, I think you're in the conversation. 3 out of 4 in the last few games here gets Florida in. 3 out of 4 for Alabama gets them in the conversation. That's where they're at. Anything to add, Mike?
No. I was actually trying to see what the SEC standings are.
I know
I'm mildly curious. I don't pay attention to shit
conference. No, it's not a bad conference this year. So
let's see. That is the AAC. I'm not looking for the the American Athletic. I'm looking for the SEC. Unfortunately, let's see. Alabama. Well, I mean they're 8-7.
You're over 500, so.
I would take them over some of the other fucking teams we're discussing, which is weird to say.
They're over 500.
They're over 500,
and they beat Kentucky.
And yeah, so they have more wins and more quality wins than pretty much everybody in the Pac-12. So Alabama should think about going out west then. Ironically, might have competition. But good news is we don't have to discuss Georgia this year unless they fucking pull a miracle. Or Vanderbilt.
Okay, you ready to move on?
Please.
Okay, American, Houston, Cincinnati both in. UCF and Temple have a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do.
Ironically, though, 10-4 in the conference for UCF, 10-5 in the conference for Temple.
Which, again, I think you and me both agree, even though their profiles probably don't compare to, some of these other teams that are under 500 that might be maybe beat 1 or 2 really, really good teams. They are over 500 in their conferences and have better records.
Yep.
A lot of people have UCF already in the field.
Yeah, I can see UCF being in the field.
So, I mean, I guess there's a chance that right now you'd probably say they're in. They're just a very vulnerable in. Temple beat Tulsa. Let's see. I think Temple probably needs a little bit of help. But Temple is one of those teams that if they put up a good showing in the tournament, they can knock out a vulnerable team. That's if they make a good run.
Well, they get UCF at the end.
So again, That's their whole argument. If you beat the team that's on the bubble with you, it makes an argument so you can't take them first.
Well, true, but unfortunately, UCF has a better chance of getting bigger
No,
wins.
I think UCF can get
No, because UCF they have South. They just beat the shit out of SMU, but they have South Florida tomorrow. It looks like, and then they get, ironically, Houston, Cincinnati, and then Temple. Honestly, if UCF gets any of those wins, they're in.
Yeah, they have the opportunity to kind of put it away before the tournament.
Yep.
But Temple needs the help, and again, I think if Temple's that team that can make a run and get to like the semifinal of the American, and then knock somebody that's kind of hanging by a thread out.
Yeah.
That's that kind of team. So they got to make a run. Otherwise, I don't think they'll get in. Let's see. Other than that, we got Gonzaga, Nevada, Buffalo, and Wofford will both get in without winning their conference tournaments. Assuming these teams don't win their conference, which I think most of them will. So that leaves you with VCU, Utah State, Belmont, Davidson, Furman, and Linscomb. Those are among the teams that we look at as other teams that can make. Again, if you wanted to follow along with this, you can went to Bubble Watch on ESPN or CBS Sportsline or any place that you can find Bubble Conversation. Again, assuming none of these teams I just mentioned don't win their conference tournament, can these teams get it on their own? I think Wofford can, Buffalo can, Gonzaga, Nevada obviously can. Can VCU? It's a chance. But I think they'll probably win the Atlantic 10, so I don't think you have to worry about it. They're that good. Utah State, I do not think could. I think they'd have to win their conference tournament, so I'm not even going to look at them. I just don't think they would. Belmont, I think potentially could, although the only really big team that they beat was UCLA, and that doesn't really look that good now. So I don't really think they could. I really don't think Belmont would get the chance.
Well, for Belmont, I mean that win doesn't look very good immediately, but then you realize it was a road game.
Yeah,
they won at UCLA, so it does help their case a little bit.
Davidson, maybe. I mean, no. Again, I think they'd have to make around the A10 turn, but they make a deep run, they could sneak in. Furman's, I think, could. They have the win at Villanova, so I think that if they make a nice little run here towards the end into their conference tournament, even if they lost, I think that might be a good enough win to get them in. So Furman might be one of those teams that if they don't win their conference tournament, they can still sneak in. I do not think Lipscomb can. I think they have to win their tournament. So I know that we were very general and we kind of rushed through that, but there wasn't really a whole lot to talk about this week. There was a lot of big games this week. Yeah, like I said, on the ACC had a lot of big games. Duke, Virginia Tech tonight. Syracuse, North Carolina tonight. Syracuse, Duke on Saturday. Duke, North Carolina last week. Michigan State, Michigan. You had a lot of big games over this last week. So it's not like you didn't have a lot of big games, but all these games were between teams that are pretty much already in the tournament. So there was that wasn't a whole lot of earth-shattering movement, but there was some movement nonetheless. Some teams helped their stock, and some teams didn't. And over this next week, you have some more big games. I mentioned again, Tennessee LSU was another big game. Like there was a lot of big games this week. Over this next week, you got further games that could impact things. Tennessee and Ole Miss tomorrow, which is important especially for Ole Miss that wants to lock up a bid. Marquette Villanova again, which should be a good game. It's a good game. So that's tomorrow. I'll be watching that Marquette game, definitely. Let's see here. Nothing on Thursday of interest. Friday, don't usually have anything big. Saturday is always a big day. Let's see here. I'm pulling up the schedule. Michigan State, Indiana. Indiana's a tough team to play, so that might be interesting and worth watching. Alabama, LSU, and LSU. Alabama wins that game. That really helps them a lot. NC State, Florida State. That's a game I think NC State. If NC State gets that game, they're in. In a game that I'm sure Mike will be really seeking out because it's going to be a barn burner. Pittsburgh and Virginia. Oh.
When is that game?
Saturday at 2.
Oh, good. I can avoid it.
Oh, my God. That's going to be a bad game. Oh God. If you want a good game on at that same time on Saturday, Kentucky, Tennessee.
That should be for the battle for the soul of the SEC. Tennessee better win that game.
If Kentucky sweeps that, then they solidify their 1 seed.
Yep.
That would be the Ohio State Purdue, which I think Ohio State's already in, but if they beat Purdue on the road, that should solidify their bid. UCF Houston, that could be a solidifying moment for UCF. That game. Texas Tech.
Pretty much what I just said earlier when we were
Yeah, you
talking
did.
about the American. They get UCF. They get UCF gets Temple. They get Houston. Then they get the other ranked team in the American. It escapes me. And then they get Temple.
By the way, that's gonna be an interesting conversation too. Imagine if a lot of teams lose and Houston's up there for a 1 seed.
Why not?
You're handing one to Gonzaga.
Why not? It's a weak bubble this year.
But no, I mean, if you're gonna make an argument for Gonzaga, Houston plays better teams. Sorry.
Yeah, Houston plays people. Houston plays teams. Good teams.
So I would think Houston would make a better case than Gonzaga. So, that'd be an interesting discussion. Texas Tech TCU. If TCU wins that would. So I think TCU's in already, but that would pretty much lock it up. Clemson wants to get back in the conversation. They got a game with North Carolina on Saturday. Win that game if you can. They won't because North Carolina is incredibly hot right now. But Baylor, Kansas State, Memphis, Cincinnati, Nevada, Utah State. Utah State wins that one. That could help them a lot. And one of the classics, which usually we get St. Mary's in, but it won't probably this year, Gonzaga, St. Mary's, Saturday. Let's see what else. Sunday, Creighton, Marquette, Michigan, Maryland. Monday, Virginia, Syracuse. That's big. Texas Tech is another big one, and Kansas State, TCU. So some big games on Monday that could potentially lock up some bids and solidify some things. And then next Tuesday, Virginia Tech, Florida State. Purdue, Minnesota, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Kansas, Oklahoma. All big games on the docket for next week. So some big games over the next week that should solve some things. And then when next time we do Bubble Watch, I feel like we have barely done it, but the next time we do it, that'll be the last Tuesday of the regular season. So you'll know by that point really who's really truly on the bubble. That's usually when you get you know what I mean? Like you're in the last week, 10 days. You're pretty much left with, I think, maybe 15 teams, 10 to 15 teams that truly have either haven't already certified a bid or, haven't played themselves out. And then you can really kind of just be like, okay, what are we left with? What are we looking at? And then kind of compare and contrast the profiles and stuff. Then you can really know who's truly in the game and who's not. So next Tuesday would be really, I always think the last two Bubble Watches are the best because you're down to that ending and who's really, it gets contentious, if you will. So, so it's gonna be an interesting week in college basketball, definitely. So keep those games I mentioned, keep an eye out for those. Obviously, we'll keep following the Duke Zion Williamson thing because I'm expecting him to play this weekend, but we'll see. Obviously, that has major impacts for the ACC and beyond. So we'll see what happens with that going forward as well. Because I know that's a big topic of discussion in the world of basketball in general. So, but let's jump at it. We've done so much sports tonight. We got to do some wrestling, and it was a very eventful week in wrestling, both on Raw and SmackDown. And we thought, and usually it's right after a pay-per-view that this is crazy like this, but not this week. We get last night. First of all, I have to say this because Mike knows this. Over the last year, I probably watched a whole episode of Raw maybe once. Last night was the first Raw that I watched the full episode in a long, long time, and it was really good. Now, maybe some people are going to say it's because of Bruce Pritchard, which is a great move by WWE bringing him back. But I also think it mattered that there was a structure. Every segment felt like it mattered. You know, there was something to everything. Roman's segment, which was amazing, and they need to let Roman be himself more often. Because when he's allowed to just be himself, the crowd, it's genuine. It doesn't feel forced. That was like I got chills during that whole thing. That was very well done. The crowd reacted wonderfully. The stuff with Seth, and you wondered when you watched that, why didn't have Ambrose come out with Seth? Because, you know, the Ambrose thing, we already know they turned him back to being a face. That's pretty obvious, right? So you expected Ambrose to come, but then you're thinking, wait a minute, there's a storyline reason why he wouldn't. Are they going to actually play that? And they did. Later on in the night, Dean's getting attacked. It's a 4-on-1, and here comes Roman and here comes Seth. And then they play off as they're coming back up the ramp. They kind of look back at him laying in the ring, and you know that means something, that is going to go somewhere. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. I mean, and you probably won't be surprised by this, Mike. Apparently, WWE thinks that Roman can convince Dean to stay.
He probably could, but Dean would probably need a bit of a break.
And I guess that Roman was asked at an autograph signing or some kind of event about Dean Ambrose leaving, and he said, "We're working on that." So, and that's supposedly his best friend. So maybe him coming back, and
it'll probably keep Dean around, but he's probably gonna take a break.
And by the way, for those wondering, I from what I'm hearing from different people, and of course, that Roman is working Fastlane.
Yeah, apparently he's working a big tag match.
Yep. So, God bless. It's amazing, but he did it. God bless him. That's amazing. That's an amazing story. It really is.
Hey, his leukemia is back in remission, and like some wrestling quote unquote experts have suggested, it wasn't the work.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't the work. His leukemia came back. He went through 4 months of significant treatment, and then he was well enough to do a movie with The Rock, and treatment continued, and then he was well enough to return, and now it's in remission. Roman came back. He fought through it, and that's worth celebrating.
It is, and like I said, it's an amazing story, and you heard he said last night he's going to use his platform to help other people, and look, he is an inspiration, but I mean, to do it, the way he did it, and to do it and it's not always going to be that quick for everybody that has it, but it's still a very inspirational thing, and God bless him. That was amazing. I kind of had the feeling when I heard over the weekend that he was coming back for a stat. I kind of had a feeling that he was, you know what I mean, like that. There was going to be good news, but to have him come back already, that's just amazing. So we had the Roman thing. We had more stuff with the Revival losing. Go figure. Some stuff with the women's tag later on in the night, which set up Nia Jax and Tamina versus Bayley and Sasha for the pay-per-view. Ronda laid down the women's title in front of Stephanie after Becky Lynch put another Austin move. And by the way, was I the only one that thought when they arrested Becky that she was going to come back with like a truck or something? Because I totally thought that's where that was going. But I think that's what WWE wanted us to think, because they didn't want us to see the big swerve later on in the night. So kudos to them. But yeah, the Stephanie thing I thought was interesting. I thought it was a good way. It made it, if Ronda delivered the promo a little bit better, I think it would have helped. But she didn't. But I thought it was a good, effective segment. We talked about the Shield stuff. I did like the Alexa Bliss, Finn Balor thing. It was nice to see Finn show his personality. That was I thought that was a good segment. And the whole thing with Leo Rush, I thought was good. I'm trying to think of just something else I missed. No, and then of course the ending segment they were building up to all night. Ric Flair's 70th birthday, which a lot of people thought was odd that Randy Orton and Charlotte weren't there, but again, that's how these things work sometimes. But yeah, Shawn Michaels there, Kurt Angle, Sting without his face paint, which everybody was kind of weirded out that Sting didn't really do anything. I think they did an after show segment where Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels were the only ones that got physical, which, given Sting's condition, I don't think anybody should be surprised. But yeah, that ending segment was really well done. With only a few minutes left, you knew that something had to happen. I think everybody thought it would be Becky Lynch related. It ended up being Batista with his blue nose ring, which is funny because everybody's like, Batista's back. But yeah, Batista attacks Ric Flair and calls out Triple H, and that's how you end the show. It's a cool ending. Very cool ending. Mike, you have any thoughts on Raw last night?
Well, I'm catching up on SmackDown now, so no. But well, I guess brief thoughts, because I actually didn't watch an awful lot of Raw. I watched a couple of clips. The Batista thing was really well done. It kind of set up the obvious match we were going with, Batista versus Triple H. And Batista wants to be done with wrestling. He wants to be done. He wants this match. He's going to go out on his terms. And, hey, Triple H needs to win at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have to make it seem important. So hopefully this means we're going to get more of Batista over the months. And hopefully we're going to have Batista wrestle some guys ahead of doing his retirement match at Mania 35. Or whatever Mania it is. Is it 35? It's 35.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's 35. Yeah, so maybe we're going to get a sweet retirement. So maybe he'll get a couple other matches in ahead of that, just so he can be like, yeah, he wrestled some guys here. Roman thing was inspiring. The Dean, they're teasing the Shield again. Hey, and Braun murdered people. That's great. Braun murdering people is always great. Finn Balor has personality. Surprise. Nia Jax is still not great. How is Ember Moon ever going to get over her idol? Ember Moon looked up Nia Jax so much, which is funny because on SmackDown, I apparently saw this on Twitter, R-Truth, who is like 6 years older than John Cena, said Cena was his idol. I'm like, oh my god. By the way, R-Truth is 47.
I know.
Which is crazy.
It's nuts.
Rey Mysterio is 44. Andrade is, I think, 30. But what's crazy is like R-Truth and Rey Mysterio are going out there having a killer match with Andrade. Well, I mean, that's SmackDown, but shit. I just love the fact, though, circling back, they kind of, in their own stupid way, hinted at, like, how ridiculous the Ember Moon thing was. Oh, she looks up to Nia Jax, even though she started wrestling 2 years out of fucking Nia Jax. How stupid was that? R-Truth made it seem very dumb, but R-Truth can be funny in small doses. Hey, and by the way, R-Truth has had more high-profile defenses of the U.S. title than like the last 4 champions.
Fighting champion.
R-Truth is a fighting champion in 2019.
Alrighty then.
Why not?
Why not?
Hilarious, fun. The best thing about R-Truth is right now, he is 3 years away from wrestling at 50 years old, and that man does not look it.
No, he don't. You're right.
Vince should give him a raise. Vince should give that man a raise.
I don't disagree.
He should not give him the U.S. title, but he should give him a raise. But hey, fighting champ R-Truth. That's all I really have to say about Raw. I didn't see an awful lot of it. I was catching on SmackDown because I'm more invested, obviously.
Well, SmackDown had some pretty big moments tonight too. They started the night with a twist, where the contract signing between Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan ended up devolving into chaos because Vince McMahon came out and replaced Kofi Kingston in the Fastlane WWE title match with Kevin Owens, who we know we talked about last week was probably going to be the WrestleMania match for Daniel Bryan. and we were under the impression that he had a couple more weeks before he would return. Well, that was not the case. And they worked the tag match tonight, Owens and Kofi. So Owens is going to be a face. They made that abundantly clear tonight, unless they're going to have him be face now and then turn heel on Kofi. But he made it abundantly clear. He forced the hand of forced their hand to kind of put him in a tag with Kofi to work against Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan. He went out of his way to give Kofi credit. He did the stunner tonight.
Mm-hmm. Got the win with the stunner.
Yeah, and he tweeted Austin about it, saying he figured it out. So he's a face. He was doing moves to get the crowd invested, which he always does anyway, but it was a different kind of feel.
Owens pulled out more moves tonight that you wouldn't have expected from a guy who just had double knee surgery.
Right, and he looked great, by the way.
Oh, he lost a lot of weight.
He looked great, and I think, look, once you have double knee surgery, I think you kind of have to. But you know, he looked great tonight, and the feeling I got from tonight was that we're getting a triple threat at Mania.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I got. That the problem is that Owens was the plan. Well, first of all, I think Ali was the original plan.
Yeah.
And then they put Kofi in there, and then the crowd got on Kofi's side, but then the company is thinking long term they need Kevin Owens as a face. So it's like we need both these guys in the match. The sad part is if Kofi's in the match, Kofi's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
So you're almost going with the idea that Kofi's going to win. You're just putting Owens in the match because you want him in that match for exposure, because he's going to be the long-term guy. Kofi's going to get a thank you reign, and he's going to lose it pretty quick. And I hate to think this, but I think he's going to lose because somebody from the New Day turns on him.
Well, honestly, you just hit on the same point I was about to make, because we had this conversation recently.
Mm-hmm.
Kofi is unfortunately at the tail end of his run. 11 years, 12 years. He's going to get a thank you run. Honestly, it shouldn't be WrestleMania. Kofi, long-term Kevin Owens is the plan.
Yeah,
because Kevin Owens, and you could say what you will. I am a Kevin Owens homer, have been for a very long time. I don't very much care. But when you look at it from that point of view, when look at it from just a subjective point of view, Kevin Owens is your guy long term. He's got the biggest upside. Now Kofi Kingston is a single. His upside, and you fucking saw it back in 2009. It's limited. With the New Day, it's obviously more.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you going to do with the New Day with Kofi as the champion?
Right.
So it kind of in a way, it kind of hinders their act. And look, the crowd is ready for the Kofi nostalgia run, and unfortunately, again, this was Mustafa Ali's run.
Right.
This is supposed to be Ali, and that's the reason why Ali was supposed to get this run. It was supposed to be Ali versus Bryan at Mania. I'm convinced now, but
I think it's obvious.
It's obvious. This is a Mustafa Ali's run, and you were going to put him over because honestly, Mustafa Ali's got major upside, and he does. And putting Ali in that spot would have done great things for WWE's optics with the Muslim community. Would have done great optics with people who like 205 Live. It would have given that brand a lot of credibility. It would have given credibility to the almost like the white meat baby face almost. It would have been a rebirth of that. Like, you don't have to exist in the shades of gray. Ali's a good guy, period. So it would have given a straightforward baby face you can kind of market as a long-term heel or long-term face. Ali had a lot of upside as the face champion. I think he still does. You might even see him get the Money in the Bank this year because, honestly, two things that are going to happen this year. I think the Royal Rumble winner has to win, and the Money in the Bank winner has to win. And the Royal Rumble winner might not win this year again.
You're getting that feeling too?
I'm not liking the fact
not for the reason you think though, Mike.
It's probably not, but it's not good.
Hmm.
And I'm not thinking it's Roman. I'm thinking it's Vince.
Huh. Huh. I think Roman's going to be in the match.
I would hope that he isn't, but that being said, Owens, but we're circling back. Owens is the guy who has the long term face potential, or has long term potential. Kofi's reign is a look. The fans are not. Once Kofi gets the title, they're going to celebrate, but a week later, what are they going to do?
Right.
It's over.
Right.
Well, we got what we wanted. Well, so what? Well, where we go from here? Kofi's reign is going to be short lived regardless. Owens is the guy with the long term face potential. Owens is the guy who could be one of the cornerstones of the company who carries it.
Right.
He needs a new T-shirt design, but that being said, so Kofi, he's probably going to be in that match, and he's probably going to win. But
yeah.
But it doesn't mean they might not do they might do the title change at Fastlane.
They really boxed themselves into a corner with Kofi. Because here's the thing, and people wonder why when somebody gets hurt and they replace somebody. Remember how every time something like this happens, like what happened with Mustafa Ali, normally WWE would replace them with somebody that has somebody that's just not gonna get the crowd behind them, right? Because they don't want things to screw up with their plans. This time around, they put somebody in there that you ran the risk of just happening with.
Yeah, usually it's Randy Orton.
So right,
they put Randy Orton in there,
but he's already in the match. So
he's already in a match. Yeah, it was. They teased that tonight.
So
there would have been AJ Styles. Look, the most straightforward thing for WWE would have been. There actually, honestly, for me, there's two ways, and I don't mean to fucking go on a tangent, but there's two straightforward ways. If you want to give Kofi Kingston his reign, you should have put him over in the Elimination Chamber. Should have put him over. Should have put him over in the chamber. Give him a month. Daniel Bryan takes it back at Fastlane. You're done. Kofi can move on to whatever else he was supposed to do, and then you bring back Kevin Owens, and people are ready for that.
Well, I think
or you do what you did at Chamber. You have you run the singles match at Fastlane.
Right.
You have Kofi lose there. Well, Kofi had a single shot. He lost. What are we going to do? Now we bring back Kevin Owens.
See, I think the issue with Hot Shot on the title before Mania is you undercut the big program of having the heel finally get his comeuppance at Mania.
Probably, but it saves you from this situation.
My take is this: see, it's clearly they were afraid of the fans, like they were with Becky, because the fans were already going crazy for Kofi. It's like, you know what? We know this isn't the long-term best thing to do, but we need, if we don't, we went on a big promotional campaign saying that we're listening to the fans. So what would we be doing if they're chanting his name and we say he can't get the title? So I see why they're doing this. I understand completely why they're doing this. Even though I think deep down they're like, you know what, we really just want to ignore this and go with what our plan was because it's in the best interest of the company. But I get what they're trying to do. But the way to go around it would be this. You have Kofi work the match at Fastlane, he gets screwed over. Maybe he gets screwed over by somebody that, like Samoa Joe or something. Okay? Somebody that feels like he stole his thunder, stole his spot. And that's, you work a feud with that. And you say, you know what? His attention got diverted now because somebody diverted it. That's what you usually used to do when you wanted to keep somebody away and kind of build that up, right?
And then you revisit it at a time where you maybe give a multi-game match like Money in the Bank.
Like, if you have him work against a heel like Samoa Joe or somebody that's really over, he's going to stay hot.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you book him the right way. And meanwhile, you have Owens that goes into the match, beats Daniel Bryan, wins that feud, and you're gonna have a draft after Mania anyway. Maybe you move Kofi on to Raw with the New Day and have him win the title over there.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Then you have options. You just have to get through Mania because then you don't screw up your plans.
But unfortunately, the way they did it tonight was probably the worst way they could have gone about it.
Yeah, because you're turning Owens' face, it makes him look like an authority figure. They had to work overtime to kind of get the crowd to see that he wasn't that same guy.
Yeah, it was. They went about it in the worst way possible. So now Kofi looks like he's getting screwed. Well, how are you going to take Kofi out of that match?
And it weird.
If
Yeah.
Kofi, if all right, so if your plan is still Owens versus Bryan at Mania, why would you make this Owens versus Bryan at Fastlane? Well, you're going to add Kofi to that match, maybe, sure, but how would you take him out of that match? Is he going to get screwed by Samoa Joe or?
Here's my thing
But
too.
then Owens wouldn't have that much of a claim for the title either. So it was just not a good way of doing any business.
What are they doing with Vince? Like, this is the second match that he's done this, and Triple H and Stephanie are kind of like playing the neutral characters.
Ironically.
Which, like, it's like, what are you trying to do? It's almost like you're trying to build up a roster mutiny against Vince.
Which is probably the longer term storyline. It's Vince. It's going to be Vince versus the kids.
It makes me think that it's leaning towards them kind of like writing off the Vince character
again.
So it's leave it to them, I guess.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Then now you have as the authority figures Shane McMahon, Triple H, and Stephanie McMahon. I wonder how this is going to go.
Yeah. Well, you had the Owens Kofi stuff. That was obviously very big tonight. You had more stuff from Charlotte. The Hardys came back.
Yeah, I saw that. That's interesting.
Well, they had a third. Let me explain this, because early in the week it looked like everybody was thinking Matt Hardy was leaving. The Hardys have had an option. They signed for 2 years with an option. The option was there for WWE. Everybody figured they were going to pick up the option. They did, so they get a full another year. So they're here for another year.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, would Matt have actually gone to AEW? Maybe, I don't know.
No,
but he was kind of teasing stuff like that. But yeah, they exercised the option, so they're back. So I'm guessing the Hardys will be involved in some tag team match at WrestleMania.
Probably.
And look, that's fine. You know, we could use. Look, SmackDown could use some other tag team besides the Bar and the Usos running around. So it's not the worst idea in the world.
Hey, remember when Gallows and Anderson were relevant? Me neither.
Yeah, really. So, but yeah, SmackDown was pretty good. SmackDown was pretty good. So
there were a lot of cool moments, but honestly, some of those moments I call into question.
Yeah.
By the way, where's Asuka?
Yeah, good question. Good question. Where was the whole women's division?
Charlotte was there.
Well, she's always going to be there.
Carmella was there with R-Truth.
I'm going to say this right now. This is where Raw has them beat, because at least Raw shows other women during the 3 hours.
Yeah.
They do. I mean, that's something SmackDown's got to work on. I know they only got 2 hours, but...
They have 2 hours, but you can't fit a couple of women's matches in there.
Yeah.
You can't figure out a program for Asuka.
Yeah.
Because the only woman who showed up on SmackDown tonight was Charlotte Flair, and she spent an entire promo time building up a match for the Raw women's title.
Oh, and Lacey Evans was there, too. She made her real brief appearance again.
Whatever.
Walk in and walk out, basically.
Whatever. There's nothing engaging for me about Lacey Evans at this moment in time.
But I guess the next thing that we're going to be focusing on now is obviously Fastlane's a week from Sunday. The next thing we're going to focus on is, obviously, we'll see what happens with Fastlane. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about the WWE title match, how that all shakes out. And I think Roman, because he's going to work WrestleMania now.
Probably.
So what does this mean? Now, the original plan for Mania for Roman was Dean Ambrose. Would they reunite the Shield only to tear them apart?
No.
So Roman, they're not just going to stick Roman in some like U.S. title match.
But R-Truth.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, is Roman going to face John Cena, Undertaker again? So here's the thing: Roman relinquished the title. Seth won the Royal Rumble. Telling you right now, I can see it. I don't want to say it. I can see. I think that'd be the worst thing they could do right out of the gate. I really do. Let Seth be the one to do it. Run with the title for a while, and Roman can get it. Build up Roman for a long time, and let him, and then he can go get it back. But I'm telling you right now, I can, and you know what? I can even see Seth politicking for it because, as Mike will talk, like Mike, you know this. Roman gave up his moment at 31 for Seth to cash in. So what if he wants to return a favor and say, well, hey, you won this title. You had to relinquish it because you had to go away. I'm giving it back to you.
Vince wouldn't fight that moment. Vince wouldn't fight that decision.
And Vince is probably sitting there back there going, well, geez, he's getting popped out of the building right now. All the goodwill's on his side. It's the perfect opportunity to do this.
Unfortunately, though, it's I agree. It's rushing it.
It is.
You have to build Roman organically. You can't just rush him back to that moment.
And again, there's only so many matches you can have on this card.
Even though it's got like a 5-hour pre-show.
So, just talk about Kurt Angle retirement match. Now you got Triple H Batista on the card. I just don't know where they're going to fit all this. I really don't. I really don't know where they're going to fit all this. We'll see. But those are some of the things you're going to be looking at over the next few weeks here. But I would imagine this by the SmackDown after Fastlane, I think we'll know our card. So
we'll know enough about the card, yeah.
It's starting to come into focus, though. Finally. So
getting there.
Again, it's getting there. And now we have Batista, so it'll be cool.
Well, now we know what Triple H's match is, that's for sure.
Yeah, and everybody that thought he wasn't going to be back for WrestleMania.
Triple H is a freak of nature, even though he's a little older. He and John Cena are pretty similar, even though Triple H has probably had some more serious injuries, but John Cena is John Cena. It doesn't matter. I digress. Triple H is one of those freaks of nature.
It'll be a cool spectacle. It will be. Well, and where would we be without Triple H's epic WrestleMania entrances?
I don't know. Where would we be?
So you're going to get one now, so that'll be cool.
Well, we were always going to get one.
Yeah. All right, so lots of interesting stuff in WWE. We'll see what happens over the next week. Been a lot of news lately, so now I said I would talk. I'll talk more about this on Thursday, so I'll give my thoughts on Thursday. But Mike, I have to ask you because you're not gonna be here. You're not gonna be here on Thursday. Before I wind down here, the Oscars. What did you think?
The Oscars. All right.
What did you think?
Okay. All right. I will try to make this as quick as I can.
Sure.
Okay, so it started off with Queen and Adam Lambert. Normally, I'm all for that. I love Queen. I think Adam Lambert is talented as hell. But the problem is, Adam Lambert had a cameo in the movie. He had a cameo in Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like, oh, okay. There was a gentleman on that project who worked as like the voice double for Freddie Mercury when during moments where you didn't have any vocals for Freddie Mercury, when there were musical moments where there was no possible way you could have something for Freddie. And that was a guy by the name of Mark Martel, who is an amazing singer in his own right, who has amazing music of his own, but he's kind of gotten kind of famous as kind of like a vocal chameleon for Freddie Mercury. And his crazy how close he is. And they said he's in like 5% of the movie. He was in more. And he did most of the vocal, like the live vocals. So I feel like as a thank you to Mark Martel, Queen should have probably gotten at least one more song. And I would have brought him out to kind of do a song as a thank you for doing a lot of the work in the movie. Now, that is not me saying that, he should replace Adam Lambert. No, because Adam Lambert is a phenomenal singer, and he's been touring with Queen for years now. I'm saying as a thank you, they should have brought out Mark Martel to perform a song with them. So already, you're strike one with me. Even though Queen fucking Lambert rocked the house. What did I see after that? Spider-Man 1. No, that wasn't surprising. Well deserved. Rami Malek won. I was all for that. Rami did great. Nobody fucking ever acknowledges the guy who stepped in after Bryan Singer shit the bed
No.
with an underage kid in it. Which sucks. I mean, I learned recently that was due to director guild rules, so they have to credit Singer, which is too bad because he probably didn't do as much of the movie as the other guy did. But I digress. I feel bad that nobody had the balls to thank that guy. What else? Olivia Colman won for The Favorite. That was pretty surprising. And look,
That was a true upset.
that was an upset. And look, people are like, Olivia Colman, she is not a known commodity. Look, I watched Broadchurch, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I watched Broadchurch, and her and David Tennant were fucking nominal in that movie, in that show. There were 3 seasons of Broadchurch. She was great in all of them. David Tennant was great in all of them. So this is not a surprise that, oh wow, she's a great actress. Well, no shit. So I came away from the conclusion that Glenn Close is never going to win an Oscar. Um, if she's never going to win, she was the favorite, no pun intended, or pun fully intended. I sincerely don't care. And if she can't win the year where there was no, where she was the odds-on favorite, then too bad. Roma was a movie, from what I read, that things are building up and then nothing ever happens. So I thought that would win the Oscar. So what won the Oscar is The Green Book for Best Picture.
No.
Ugh.
Spike went nuts about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Spike Lee won an Oscar. And all
That
that
was
is,
awesome. That was
yeah,
cool.
yeah, whatever. Um, Green Book. I didn't know there was a controversy about the Green Book until the day of the Oscars, and then I was informed that,
Mm-hmm.
hey, some aspects of the movie are slightly racist, where the hero of the movie was the white guy and not the black guy.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the Green Book, and I knew this ahead of the movie, that the Green Book is a real thing
Right.
that African Americans needed to kind of help them traverse the South safely. What businesses were safe and open to African Americans, and what hotels would, and motels and places to stay were safe, and who would serve that, who would, where they can get a good meal, who had African American owned businesses. So the Green Book was essential for survival for African Americans traveling the South, which towns were sundown towns, which they should avoid, etc., and so on. So, which towns in the South weren't hella racist? Spoilers, not many.
Well,
But
the
but
the speech at the end didn't help matters either.
it did not. So to be quite honest, the Oscars went out of their way to make a wrong choice. They were like, we want to be woke too. We're super woke, right? We chose the Green Book. Look, if they wanted to be woke, they would have chosen Black Klansman or Black Panther, which I imagine the Black Panther wasn't close to winning anyway. Um, oh yeah, Marvel won. By the way, people are like, this is one of the things that got my goat a little bit. People are like, Spider Man broke Disney's hold on the animated thing. They won like 6 in a row or 7 in a row, whatever it was. So Spider Man was the first non Disney property to win an Oscar, win an animated Oscar. People legitimately type that out. Can you believe that? Spider Man, the first non Disney property. Can you fucking believe that? Where have they been? Did they not see the Marvel Comics logo at the front of the movie? Who do you think owns Marvel? Who do you think who do you think helped fund the movie? Come on. Disney wins again. The House of Mouse reigns supreme. Just because Sony's name on it doesn't mean they weren't using a Disney character. Come on. House of Mouse won again. Ridiculous bullshit. But I digress. Go circling back to the Green Book. What a tone deaf choice. The movie might have been very good, and for a while I wanted to see it. But then again, I was not aware of the controversy. I thought that movie just looked like a fun movie. And Marshall Ali and oh, what's his face? Viggo Mortensen looked like they were having a good time. I was not aware of the greater controversy about the movie. I'm glad Roma didn't win it because that was an Oscar choice. But what else was an Oscar choice? The tone deaf fucking movie winning it and thinking that they're woke when in reality they're not.
I will say this: as I was watching it, I totally thought it was setting it up for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, I thought Bohemian Rhapsody would win.
Starting the night with Queen, and then the amount of it had a couple wins in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Like it just felt like that's where it was setting up to me.
Yeah, and a couple of weird best editing, a couple of weird wins there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
they won. Should they have won?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Sound editing, sure. Okay, I'm all for sound editing. But editing.
Then there was a part of me that when Olivia Colman won, I thought maybe the favorite would pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because that seemed like one of the more less offensive choices. But I mean, I'll give my thoughts more on Thursday. But yeah, it's wow. I thought it had all the makings of being something that could change the game a little bit. And that speech, boy, I'm gonna go crazy. You folks, tune in on Thursday. I'm gonna go crazy about that speech at the end.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I didn't hear the speech. And I'm going to also be honest with you. I'm not going to go out of my way to listen to this speech.
I'll paraphrase this and set it up. All right, first of all, Peter Farrelly did Green Book, and you know what he did Dumb and Dumber way back when. Yeah, he does comedies mostly. This is a dramedy, this movie. So he gave, I'm paraphrasing here, okay? He gave credit. He said this movie could not have been done without Viggo Mortensen, and he mentioned Linda, referring to Linda Cardellini, who's also in the movie. He did not. Of course, Viggo was up for Best Actor, who he did not win. He did not mention Masahiro Ali, who had won earlier in the night for Supporting Actor.
Marshall Ali.
Yeah, and everybody's going crazy because they're like, well, okay, he mentions the white man that did not win as part of one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason the movie got made, but doesn't mention the African American man who won the Oscar earlier in the night. That was just as much of a reason, if not more, for that movie being made. And given the controversy already attributed to the film,
yikes.
I mean, Spike Lee was already upset. Like he turned his back during the whole speech and not refused to look at them on the stage and walked out, was like vocally upset. Not because Black Klansman didn't win, but because he said, based on the way the night was going, this is the movie that won. Like you're trying to promote diversity and equal rights, and you're trying to be go in the right direction with what we're trying to say in film, and then this is what you do. This is with all the controversy surrounding it and the way all this went down. This is what wins. It's a very tone deaf choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, and look, Spike was in a great mood. The Knicks won. He won. Spike wasn't a great move. He pissed him off.
No, yeah. The only other thing I know about the Oscars is that apparently the no host thing didn't work very well.
It did and it didn't.
There were like, oh, because it started off with like Amy Schumer. It started off with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and Maya Rudolph.
Yeah.
Like, we are definitely not the host. Herp a derp.
It was okay. I mean, I didn't mind that so much, but in the end, it didn't make a difference. You still went over time the same amount you would have anyway.
Yeah.
So it really didn't change anything.
In all honesty, and somebody said after it happened, like, oh, get ready for everybody saying these two should have been the Oscar host.
Yeah.
Oscar host. But when you watch their segment, it's like, oh, well, they really should have been the Oscar hosts. And that is John Mulaney and Aquafina, who were probably the best presenters of the night.
All kidding is, listen, they wanted.
I'm not kidding. I honestly think they.
Well, no, I know. I know they were very good. I'm just saying though, everybody wants to focus on Kevin Hart and the fact that it all fell apart. And that Kevin Hart wasn't even their first choice. Their first choice was The Rock. They were in negotiations with The Rock. They called them. They were working on it, and his schedule just wouldn't permit it. And that's when they went to Kevin Hart.
He wasn't there.
So, again, we'll see if they try again next year with that. But look, there have been worse Oscars. I thought, again, I'm going to go into more on Thursday. I thought the first 15 or 20 minutes was very awkward. Even for the winners, it was like awkward silence at times. Like Regina King she had a great speech and everybody was kind of awkward about it. It was very weird. I don't know if people were in their seats or something was going on that was distracting people, but there was something very odd about the first 15 minutes. It's almost like people were walking on eggshells or something. And then it got going and it felt a little bit better. But it was a weird show. It was a weird show, right up, and then it became offensive at the end. So it was what it was. It's over now. Moving on. That's all I can really say. You know, that's I'll say more on Thursday. Tune in. It'll be fun.
Oh, apparently Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper did a thing. Fun fact: I have never heard that whole song.
Actually, it's the first time I've heard the whole song through too. Quite frankly,
I have never heard that whole song.
No, I same here. That's what I'm saying. That's the first I've heard it too. The whole thing. I maybe heard like a couple verses, during like commercials and stuff. I never went out of my way to hear the song.
And I'm still not.
I mean, yeah. it was a moment, but
I'm sure it was, and I'm sure if you like all that stuff was like if you were all in on Stars Born, great. But I'm gonna be honest with you, have not heard the song, and I'm not going to go out of my way to hear the song.
Well, it was what it was. I'll get into it on Thursday. It'll be fun. I'll rant. I'll rave. Tune in. But yeah, that's it. We have to go. So we got through everything. That's it for tonight. As always, the show might be over. It does not mean you have to stop interacting, contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your questions about the show, discussing the show, topic ideas, or breaking news items for sports, entertainment, or wrestling that you want us to cover. Reactions, comments, opinions, and things we talked about on the show. Any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. To search in Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure that you like our fan page once you find it so you can interact with us and know what's going on with the show and all that important, cool stuff. Again, social media. Follow us on Facebook and on Twitter so you can have access to what you need to have access to in regards to the show, any last-minute postponements, delays, and know what's going on with the show and interact with us and do all that stuff. So to do all that, make sure you follow us on social media so you don't miss out. 2 ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. You can either stream us anytime on YouTube. Just search in the Spotlight 411. And when you do, you'll be taken to our show page on YouTube where you'll find every episode we've ever produced for YouTube going way back to mid-October 2015. Every episode we've ever done on YouTube from mid-October 2015 right up to tonight's current episode. Those episodes are available for you to stream anytime you want. Just head over to YouTube and search for In the Spotlight 411. If streaming's not your thing, maybe prefer to listen to us on the go, maybe instant older episodes of the show. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search in the Spotlight 411, and when you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites. We'll have access to every episode we've ever done in the over 8 years we've been doing this show. So every episode from our original Blog Talk Radio run, every episode from our Talk Show run, every episode, of course, from our recent for our current YouTube run. That's every episode from in October 2015, all up to tonight's current episode. All those episodes transfer into audio format for your convenience. Every episode we've ever done in audio format for your convenience, for you to listen to anytime you want. Every episode's listed in order from the most recent, that being tonight's, way back to the oldest, way back in October 2010. Those episodes are available for you to listen to anytime, whether you're a longtime fan, want to check out an old episode again, or a new fan and want to check out an episode from way back when for the first time, or you checking out current episodes, keeping up with episodes, missing an episode. Any of those things you can do on Podbean and iTunes, search in the Spotlight 411. So again, not Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, and iTunes. Again, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your ways to keep up the show and look back at classic episodes. Just search in the Spotlight 411. Again, just search in the Spotlight 411. Thank you, Mike, for being here, as always. We appreciate it.
Now I'm going to sleep.
Thank myself for another great show. Pat myself on the back. And thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those who will be watching, listening later in archive, thank you to you as well. Thank you for your patience early in the night when I had to stop because my dog and then the stupid board wasn't working for me earlier. But we got all that worked out. My dog quieted down, so that was good too. Then thank you for all the well wishes. And that is it for tonight. Next show, Thursday, we're going to do some entertainment. We got the box office beat. I don't know if we'll do TV highlights. Depends if I get a chance to get to anything or not in the next couple of days. We'll do some more Oscar stuff. We'll talk about what's coming up at the show and all the good stuff, all the stuff I've been kind of hyping. And if anything else happens in sports, entertainment, or wrestling that needs to be covered, we will obviously cover it. We've been mixing things up as far as topic goes. Genres go all along, so we'll just keep doing that. So that will be coming up on Thursday. It'll be a much shorter show, but that's usually the case on Thursdays now. So, all right. So, and then next week again, 2 shows, and then the week after that we'll be dropping down to 1 show for the rest of March. So please keep that in mind going forward. All right. So with that being said, that is it. I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great Wednesday, and a great Thursday. We'll see you back here for our next show this coming Thursday night, 10 o'clock from Eastern Time here on YouTube. Until then, good night, everybody.